Hi, this is Margo. This is Tuesday evening, June 25th, 2019, 6:32 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So here's how sulfur dioxide is spreading across the Arctic from Raikoke Volcano hellmouth, and it's still erupting. It hasn't stopped. This is from today, Tuesday. This is the Pacific view and total column. So it has gone, came down here, came up here, and it's now spreading back to the west across Siberia. It's gone all the way across the Pacific, across the Aleutian Islands, covered the Bering Strait, and is covered Alaska, and is heading across. There's another view I'd like to show as well to really see what it's going to do over the Arctic. We can look at the North Pole view. So just to get oriented, here's North America, here's Alaska, here's Kamchatka Peninsula, here's Russia, here's the Arctic Sea, here's Greenland, and so on, and here's the Atlantic. So this is what it looked like at the beginning of Tuesday. So if we run the movie, we can see how they expect it to spread out. And that's if there are no more big blasts going off. That's how they see it dispersing. But it's still going off. That's the problem. So we can see that by Friday, what it's doing is just kind of circling and moving out with each circle, but it's dissipating or dispersing all the way across the Arctic. And so with any rain or snow that's coming down, it will have ash coming down on the ice, which will make the ice melt more quickly. It will also have acid in it from the sulfuric acid that's formed up in the clouds when the sulfur dioxide starts breaking down. So this is pretty much, it's a death sentence for the Arctic ice, even though, yes, it's a cooling agent, but in the long run, it's very bad. And we can see even by tomorrow, see, it's already coming out in the over the Chukchi Sea. And there's no sea ice right there. That's already melted. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So I'm going to make that as the backdrop. I've never seen anything like this. It's such a huge release of sulfur dioxide, and mainstream news is not reporting on this. Nobody's reporting on this but me. You know, a couple of people reported on it at the beginning when it first started happening on Saturday, but I'm the only one that I know of that's still reporting on it. So here we look at, here's the latest news. Let's refresh. make sure we get the latest news. This is on Volcano Discovery. This is the Raikoke Volcano News and Activity Updates. And they have their latest update is from today at 13:03 p.m. First images of the eruption from the ground. Look at that. This is the ash column rising above the summit. And here's what they say. We finally have information about the situation on the ground, courtesy of a ship that was passing in the area during the large eruption on Sunday. As expected, there is a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the drifting plumes continue to disperse over the Aleutian Islands. Updates continue to be released by Anchorage VAC. The aviation color code has been lowered to yellow. So here's a picture of, this is a pre-eruption view of a rocky outcrop, and there are sea lions in the foreground here. So you can see some sea lions. So here's an outcrop. That's before the explosion, and here it is after. The same outcrop afterwards, the habitat is completely destroyed. Pyroclastic deposits have extended the shoreline. This looks like something from a sci-fi movie. So that's what happened. So here's how it was before. And it had not blown up since 1924. So almost 100 years. "95 years. And here it is after. Hellmouth is what it's called. And here's some other reports. Explosive, this is also from today. Explosive activity continues. The VAC, or Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, Tokyo, warned about a volcanic ash plume that rose up to estimated 38,000 feet, or 11,600 meters altitude, or flight level 380, and is moving at 3 knots in north-northeast direction. So it hasn't stopped. All of these advisories say explosive activity continues. So there's that. Also, here's what it looks. Okay, let me back out so you can get oriented here on NASA Worldview. This is from today, and we can see the clouds coming from this area and coming across the Pacific are kind of a browner. That's from that sulfur dioxide mixing in and swirling. It's going all the way across. And it's still coming up. So here's the Kamchatka Peninsula, and it's right down here. It's right here. It's coming up from right there. We can see a little bit of a brown thing coming up through the clouds. Here it was yesterday where it was coming up. You could see, here's the island, Raikoke. Here it is from the 23rd. And here it is where it blew up on the 22nd. So we're going to keep an eye on this especially since they say explosive activity is continuing. That's very concerning. And now we're going to move on to our earthquake report. But before we do that, let's look at the latest lake level at Oroville. Okay, it's at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. It was 895.96. The inflow at 6 o'clock was 5560. That's cubic feet per second. The outflow is 4,026 CFS. And it's been holding at 895.95 for most of the day. At midnight last night it was 895.93, so it's gone up 0.03 feet. Yesterday there was no change. Well, it went down and then it went back up. It started at 895.93 and at midnight it was 895.93. So yesterday there was no change. Today, so far, it's gone up 0.03 feet. And here on our earthquake map, we're going to look at this huge earthquake that happened just off the Kamchatka Peninsula. It was a 6.3. This came in at 2:05 this morning. That's 2:05 Pacific time. All these times are my time zone, Pacific time. And so it was in the ocean. There wasn't damage done, but there would have been if it had been on land. And then there was an aftershock of 4.7 aftershock at 8:59 this morning. So if you want to see more details about that, I have it pulled up on Volcano Discovery, and they call it a 6.4 earthquake, Komandorsky Ostrova region, Russia, on Tuesday, June 25th. And then down here they listed as a 6.1 right up here. Here's all of the information, and it was equivalent to 3.8 atomic bombs. So that's pretty good size. But with it being in the ocean, let's see if we refresh if there are any more I felt it reports. With it being in the ocean like that, the water buffers everything. So most of these are in Russian. I've got Google Translate pulled up so that we can see. Here's one that was 109 kilometers from the epicenter. It was in the Russian Federation. This person was. It says, first a series of sharp vertical jolts, then horizontal. So they were jolting up and down and then back and forth. So they felt it. And then here's one 504 kilometers from the epicenter. Light shaking. Let's see what they say. A palpable score was 3 to 4. Not bad shook. So They got some shaking, but it wasn't bad. Light shaking is what that says. So here's someone from Southwest Anchorage, so across the Pacific, saying not felt. You know, why do people 2,600 miles away say they didn't feel it? Anyway, Russia, St. Petersburg, not felt. And from Kruta Borogovo, they had strong shaking. So there's that. Now, let's move on to our earthquake report. It'll be a fairly short show tonight. And I'm planning on doing a sea ice update in the next day or two. So, be looking for that. So we have USGS pulled up here for all magnitudes of earthquakes for the last 24 hours. We're showing 218 worldwide. Of those, 26 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So we can see we're having them spread out a little bit more, especially on this southern ridgeline. So let's see what the oldest ones are. Looks like the oldest ones are here in the Caribbean, 2.6 British Virgin Islands. That was at 7:21 last night. Okay, we have time to start anywhere we like. I think I'll start down here. This one southwest of Australia and just north of Antarctica. This is right here is the Ross Sea. This is the Ross Sea and ice shelf. And remember, it's winter time down there, and so their sea ice is coming back, and it's also dark down there. So this is right on the ridgeline, on the Antarctic ridgeline. 5.8 Southeast Indian Ridge that came in at 11:01 last night. And then another one just on the other side of South America, down on the south end, 4.9 near Bristol Island, South Sandwich Islands. This one came in at 3:24 this afternoon. And then in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, just to the east of South America, a 4.7 Central Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This one came in at 5:48 this afternoon. And then here in South America, there are two. There was a 4.5 at Colchani, Bolivia at 5:36 this morning, 178 kilometers deep. And a 4.4 near Colama, Chile at 12:20 this afternoon, 117 kilometers deep. Those were on land there. And then coming across the Pacific, here we're still having aftershocks here at L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand. Here was a 4.8 that came in at 3:35 this afternoon. And remember, we saw a whole bunch of earthquakes here at Abepure. Well, we've got two more here today. Here's a 4.7 at 4:38 this morning, and a 4.4 at 12:42 this afternoon. So it's slowing down, but it's still moving, still showing movement. Then up here 4.5 near Molabagu, Indonesia at 1:32 this afternoon, 118 kilometers deep. And then here's one off the coast of Sumatra, of 4.6 near Kurapan at 3:26 this afternoon, 66 kilometers deep. So, and then we looked at this 6.3 at Kamchak's Stary, Russia, that came in at 2:05 this morning, and then an aftershock of a 4.7 at 8:59 this morning. When you see all these 10 kilometers, that is the default level that USGS puts earthquakes at if they don't have the exact depth, or they don't want you to know. That's the default level. That's why you see the majority of the earthquakes are at 10.0. It's not because they're all happening at 10.0. That's the default level. People don't understand that. But if you look at these over a period of time, you figure it out. Okay, in Hawaii today, they have 7. 2.2 Mauna Loa, 2.1 at Kilauea, 1.7 Kilauea, 1.9 Kilauea, 2.0 now Pupu, and a 2.0 at Kilauea. So there's those. Those are not big enough to do damage, but they're showing movement still. Now in the Caribbean, we have 20 here today, so that's an uptick. Let's see how many of these are 2.5 magnitude or higher. We've got 9, so we're just going to go over these larger ones. 2.6, 2.5, 3.0, 2.8, 2.5, 2.7, 3.2, 2.8, and a 3.2 down here. So these were all in the ocean. No damage from any of those. And then the rest of those were under 2.5. So quite a few ones. So where you have these on land, that's just a little bit of movement. It's not enough to do damage, but it's just showing movement. Now let's come on up to Alaska. We've got 48 here today, so that's fewer than we've seen here in a long time. And Alaska averages between 50 and 100 earthquakes a day. So of those 48, we have one that was a larger one. It was a 3.3 at Anchorage, and that came in at 5:59 this morning, 20 kilometers deep, 20.5 to be exact. And now if we zoom in with all magnitudes, here's a little one, a microquake, a -0.4 at Unalaska. And then see, the Cook Inlet is almost nothing. So maybe that big earthquake over on the other end of the Aleutian Islands, took some pressure off of Alaska. So here's the Anchorage area, and there's just spreading up. Here's a 2.0 at Cantwell, but most of these are 1s and under, so they're even smaller than we normally see them. Here's our cluster at Kobuk, 9 here today. Here's another one, and nothing up in the north. Here's the one at Haines Junction, Canada, 2.1. Now coming down into the lower 48. We've got 132 here today out of 218, so more than half of them are here. So we're going to start here in Oklahoma. We've got 8 here today. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. 1.7 Edmond, 1.1 Pawnee, 1.9 Holdenville, 1.1 Cushing, 1.4 Perry, and here's a quarry blast, a 1.3 magnitude near Owasso, a 1.7 Blanchard, and a 1.6 at Blanchard. Coming on up, Utah is clear. Yellowstone is eerily quiet. A 1.2 at Manhattan and a 0.1 at Whitehall. This is eerily quiet in some of these areas today. Now let's look here in the Pacific before we go up into Washington. Here's a 4.1 that happened on the edge of this Juan de Fuca plate. This came in at 5:29 this evening. And a 2.6 at the bottom of this Juan de Fuca plate. This came in at 4:14 this morning. Now up here in the Pacific Northwest, on our tremor map for yesterday, we're only showing 8 tremors on the whole map, and it's right up here on Vancouver Island, right up here. So maybe there will be some earthquakes there tomorrow. So what did we see here yesterday or day before? Okay, these were further south in the state, and there were 85. Let's look at the 22nd. That was a no tremor. Oh yeah, that was one of those freaky days where there was nothing. Okay, now, so on the 21st is where we had 161, and they were divided up into 5 little pockets, and so this is correlating to where we're seeing these earthquakes here today. So we've got a 1.4 at Seebeck, 1.4 at Rosedale, 1.1 Diamond. Here's a 0.7 Desert Air. Here's a 1.3 magnitude explosion at Morton, which is right next to Mount St. Helens. Here's Mount St. Helens, big volcano. and they're blowing things up next to a volcano. That's what they do. Here's another explosion, a 1.4 at Kalama. So 2 explosions near Mount St. Helens. I predict that's not a good mix. Now coming into Northern California and Northern Nevada, now we see, let's back out for just a second here. You see this where it's, all of these 3 lines come in. This is the fulcrum point. And so a lot of times we'll see earthquakes that come straight across from this fulcrum point, and we do. We've got that today. We've got a 1.1 at Manton, and this is on its way over to Lake Almanor, which is full, and it's northwest of Lake Oroville here. And here's Shasta Lake up to the north. So there's your 1.1, and then also straight across, almost straight across, there was one up here at Smoke Creek Desert, a 1.0 in Nevada at 3:35 this morning. It was at the surface, 0 kilometers depth. And then here's one in Pyramid Lake, a 0.3 at 7:53 this morning. Then coming on down, there are 2 here at Incline Village, or in the mountains north of Incline Village, a 0.4 and a microquake, a minus 0.4. And then over here southeast of Fernley was a 1.6 magnitude explosion at 10:26 this morning. So the earthquake makers are back at work. Let's look at this little cluster in California. There are 3. The reporting station is Gardnerville, Nevada, 1.0, 0.5, and a 0.6. But Gardnerville is, what am I doing? It's just right there. So then we've got 2 to the east of Walker Lake, 2 small ones, then one down here at Hawthorne. Coming down into southern Nevada, it's eerily quiet. We've only got 2 down here. A 0.4 at Beatty and a minus 0.4 at Pahrump. Nothing at Alamo. Maybe they got done with doing their underground stuff. Whoa, that scared me. I've got a phone call. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So it's eerily quiet in Nevada. Down here in the southern end. Now let's look at Mammoth Lakes. Looks like they've got quite a few here today. They've got 9. And they've got 1.4. That's the highest. That's at Round Valley. And a 1.3 at Yosemite Valley over here. And then the rest of them were pretty small. Smaller than that. Now, here's a 0.3 at Lone Pine. Coming on down to the Coso Junction area. In this view we have 12. Here's a 1.1 at Inyokern, right down here. I'm just calling off the larger ones. 1.7 Coso Junction, 1.2 Coso Junction, 1.6 Olancha, 1.4 Coso Junction, 1.1 Coso Junction, and then the rest of them are under that. But there are 12 right there. Look at all these blasts. All these little diamonds are all quarry blasts or explosions. Here's a 1.4 Tehachapi, 1.2 at Bodfish, 1.2 quarry blast Tehachapi, 1.4 quarry blast Mojave, 1.8 quarry blast at Boron. Here's a 1.1 quarry blast Rancho San Diego. So they're busy. They're busy with blasting. So I'm going to take those quarry blasts off the map. There are 39 in Southern California today. Without those three quarry blasts up at the top. Of those, there's a 2.6 at Anza and a 2.6 at Glen Avon. Those are the largest ones. Here's a 2.2 near Malibu. Here's the Glen Avon cluster. There are 13 here today. Most of these are mid ones to low ones, except for that 2.6. That was the largest one there. And a quarry blast at Lake Elsinore, right down here. A 1.2 quarry blast. And here's a 1.4 quarry blast at Home Gardens. They're blasting all over the place. I'm amazed that some doesn't just break loose with all the blasting and stuff. Here's a 2.0 at Brawley. And so on. And they're peppered around. Clusters here and there. So here it's a pair, a 2.2 and a 2.1 at Malibu, 2.0 Lake Hughes. Then let's follow this red line, the San Andreas Fault line, up. Eerily quiet. Here's a 1.3 at Hollister. Here's 2 at Alum Rock, a 2.0 and a 2.2. And the Geysers has 28 today. And those are all under 2.5 magnitude. Here's a 1.6. That's one of the higher ones. And a 1.5, 1.0, 1.2, 1.1, 1.0, and the rest are under that, under 1. So that's kind of an average low number for the geysers. And then here's a 2.0 at Redwood Valley to the north. That's almost straight across from Oroville. It is straight across from these over here at Incline Village. So we'll back out and see if there's anything else that came in that we need to look at. 2.6 at Anza. That just came in at 635. We already saw that, I think. Yeah. Anza and Glen Avon. So I think that's a wrap. So I'll let everyone go. And I do believe we are in the end times. No one knows the day or the hour, so we need to make sure to be ready for whatever's going to happen, but mainly be prepared spiritually for the end. Get your spiritual house in order. Until next time, God bless you and go in peace, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night.